Well, I'm Lyn Ulbricht, and I'm here because my son, Ross Ulbricht, was given double life plus 40 years without the possibility of parole for all nonviolent charges associated with his role in the Silk Road website, essentially creating it and allegedly running it. I say allegedly because I believe he ran it for a short time. I don't believe he was running it the entire time. There was a lot of evidence that there were many people operating the Dread Pirate Roberts handle, which was the main administrator, but Ross was given all the blame and took the entire brunt of what happened on Silk Road at the time. And so he was given this draconian, barbaric sentence and is now in a maximum security prison with violent gangs and violent people, not for that he's violent or that anyone claimed to be a victim or anything like that. It's because of this life sentence.
So this life sentence that was handed to him, it was due in part for his involvement of the creation and alleged management of Silk Road. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, I mean, maybe give us a little bit of insight, right? Like, how long did he run it for? Did you know the whole time that this was the project he was working on? You know, as a mother, how involved were you in just like knowing about like this happening?
I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. No. I knew that he was interested in Bitcoin. He was explaining to me, he was very excited about this Bitcoin thing and was explaining it to me. And in fact, I even said to him, should I buy some? And he said, no, Mom, it's too volatile. You shouldn't, you know. And that it was worth about maybe 50 cents or something. It's very bad advice I got from my son. But in any case, I didn't buy any. Yeah. But I didn't know. And I knew that he had worked in the Ron Paul campaign and that he was very excited about, you know, those ideas and von Mises and had been reading a lot about freedom and economic freedom. But that was the extent of it. He was living in California. I was living in Austin, you know, and I knew he was very passionate about those things. Yeah. But I didn't know that he had created Silk Road or ever been on it. I've never been on it. You know, I was never on it.
Yeah. So, when did you find out?
When?
Yeah.
We got a call, my husband and I, from Reuters. It was October 2nd. Ross had been arrested of 2013. He had been arrested the day before. And this very nice woman, she was just told us. And she said that, and murder for hire, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I was just like completely overwhelmed, couldn't believe it. Suddenly the phone's ringing off the hook, media's driving by our house, pounding on our door, emails are pouring in, and I'm like, what is happening? And actually my life has been totally crazy ever since. So I just realized when I started hearing the media about Ross, and I know my son, and other people, I mean, there's 100 letters on our website from people who know Ross personally. So it's not just, oh yeah, you're his mother, of course you're going to say that. Read the letters. It's who he really is. And I just couldn't stand by. And so I started speaking out. And one thing led to another. And so I do a lot of speaking out now. And it's kind of grown into, beyond just Ross, I've gotten such insight into the criminal justice system and how they operate and what they do to people. And I've met the people, not just Ross, but other people who are victims of this, and how it's really not only harming them, but it's shredding our constitutional protections. And I feel like it's a very dangerous thing that's going on right now, and people need to become aware of it.
So just to have more context to the whole proceedings, right? Because you're uncovering a lot, I feel like, with your journey. And your mission to basically free Ross.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're seeing? Like maybe because that case is highly publicized. However, a lot of the cases aren't.
Yeah. That
you're speaking of. I'd love to hear.
Sure.
What are some of the things you're noticing?
I mean, Ross recently organized a photo in the prison of him and other fellow inmates who are all nonviolent drug offenders serving life. They're all nonviolent. I've met some of them because in the visiting room, I've met them. I've met their families. One of them, Tony DeJohn, who we helped his mom put up a petition, also, he's got life from marijuana, selling marijuana 13 years ago. The prison is in Colorado. It's a federal
life for marijuana.
Life for marijuana.
In Colorado.
In Colorado, it's a federal prison, so it's not under the state's law. But the irony is, it's in Colorado. You know, we have John Boehner, I believe, involved in a cannabis company. It's like, please. And this guy's serving life. He's already done 13 years.
Yeah.
That's just one of many examples. There's many people in there for the 3 strikes law, Bill Clinton, legacy to us. And some of those strikes, one of them is residue on a dollar bill. Essentially he's doing life for residue on a dollar bill, which anyone at any 7-Eleven can get.
Residue
of cocaine or something on a dollar bill. Another one is there for user amounts of heroin. Now, yes, he was using heroin. He had a problem. He got life because it was his 3rd strike. This is causing the United States to lead the world in imprisoned people.
Yeah.
We imprison more of our people than any country in the whole world, and it's un-American, and it hasn't always been like this, and it's a terrible trend.
It's terrible because, especially with that last example of the heroin user, we're treating these correctional patients not as medical patients. You see what I'm saying?
And I know his daughter. I've talked to him. He doesn't need to be serving life, and the taxpayer doesn't need to be spending $2 million for him and $2 million for Ross, and it's very expensive. And this drug war is not stopped anyone from using drugs. I mean, could I see a progress report, please? Because I believe people are still using plenty of drugs, and it's over $1 trillion and over 45 years of this drug war that they will not stop.
So is Free Ross, Lyn, a reflection not only on obviously the primary mission, but rather to also shed light on these injustices?
Definitely. It's been, you can't keep. I've been going now to the prisons for almost 5 years, regularly. So of course I get to know the families, and I get to see the children. That's what really gets you. These kids are torn from their dads after the visit. They're sobbing. They're harmed, and it's statistically proven that they will very likely end up in prison too. It's very hard it becomes like this entrenched situation, and these families are suffering terribly, and I just can't forget it. I mean, it's become definitely a bigger thing when you see this and realize how prosecutors operate and what they do to get their little notch on their belt for their career, and they are basically running the courts. And they're out of control as far as I can see.
How do you feel as a mother that has her son locked up basically for more than one lifetime? How has it been for your family?
It's like having him die, but he's not dead, and I can still maybe save him. So it's like, except I won't say it's worse, because I think losing a child in any way, but when I think of him suffering, and it's very heartbreaking. It's really hard. It's been so hard on our family. It's like, I can't, I might be enjoying myself, and I try to do that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this moment because but sometimes I'm like, yeah, but Ross is sitting in there and he can't enjoy this beautiful day, or he can't, it's just always with me, always. And I just can't, that's why I just can't rest. And if there's anything left in my being that can help him be free, I know he doesn't belong there. I know he'd never hurt a soul if he were out. I know that he has a lot to contribute. And, people can argue that he made mistakes. Okay, lots of 26-year-olds do make mistakes, But to not give people a second chance, and not just Ross, like these other guys, this should be a country of second chances. Come on. And so no, it's horrible, and I, for myself and also for all the other families that I've gotten to know. And people don't realize, because of course they're shut away. You don't realize until you're there, having to deal with it. It's really a bad situation. Such a waste, too. Such a terrible waste of people. Yeah.
And we can go on and on about, you know, basically the failed infrastructure of the prison system here and the judicial system and the court system. I mean, it goes on, right? I mean, for you personally, I'm curious, when you learn about these accusations against your son, and when you learn about, you know, the Silk Road, did you ever have any thoughts about what this platform did, or was it always just like, you know, my son, he deserves, you know, a second chance, and he shouldn't be looked at as at this degree?
Well, look, I mean, I'm very happy that there was no child pornography on the site. I'm very happy that it was all based on voluntary interaction. No force was used. No one was forced to do anything. Yeah. I am not happy that people may have bought things, and it hasn't really been proven, but people may have bought things that harmed them, even killed them. No, I'm not happy about that at all. I feel for anyone who's lost a child or a family member. At the same time, you know, there is an argument about drugs and whether people have that choice and whether, if that's what they want to do. I'm not defending Silk Road any more than I would defend sorry, cyanide being sold on Amazon. A woman suing Amazon because her daughter bought cyanide and killed herself with it. That's a terrible tragedy. I don't think Jeff Bezos needs to be thrown in prison for it. I don't think a liquor store owner needs to be thrown in prison if someone overdoses on alcohol, which I know someone who has and died, or gets drunk and kills someone with a car. I mean, no, you don't want to be, I'm not happy about it. Yeah. I believe Ross meant well. He believed in freedom and privacy and free choice, and he was young and idealistic. He's matured, and, you know, people do change, and I think that people, you know, it doesn't help anybody to have him spend the rest of his life in that place at all. It costs.
So, Lyn, you know, just to put a whole pin to the proceedings here, you know, for people listening that have heard about your son's case and, you know, think otherwise, or for people that maybe they don't even know what's going on, right? Like you said, people turn a blind eye. Oh, this, you know, they see on the news the cops got a mass murder, or, you know, they did a huge arrest. Great, like, good riddance from that person. You know, people that are unaware. What message would you have for those people that are listening now, that are just hearing this for the first time?
Yeah. First of all, don't believe everything you read in the media. You know, the media and the government accused Ross of planning murders for hire. Those charges were never brought to trial. They were never ruled on by a jury, and yet they were used by the judge to justify her draconian sentence. And there was another set of those charges in Maryland. They were just dropped. He's totally free of any allegation or charge of that, and yet with the media, you know, they talked about it constantly. That's just one example. You cannot believe the media. I've heard them say things about Silk Road that I know are not true. You know, I feel like a lot of times they want the most sensationalistic, easy presentation that's going to get the most clicks, and not really wanting to take the trouble to dig into what's really going on. I'd also say that, again, people change, people mature, and okay, if somebody is in prison and they're dangerous and they're going to hurt people, of course you should protect society. I mean, it's just, but there are over 60% of people in prison now are drug offenders. The whole prison system would collapse without the drug war. There's a lot of money being made here. There's a lot of power being grabbed, and it's costing us our constitutional protections as well. I mean, that's a big subject. But, so there's a lot to it, and the drug war is not about drugs. I don't, just like, you know, Silk Road really wasn't about drugs. It was about privacy and freedom. It turned into some, you know, a lot of drugs, mostly marijuana, by the way, almost all marijuana. But the drug war is not about drugs. If it were, they'd think of something that actually worked. You know, so I feel like there's a lot of propaganda around it, and it's easy to, I'm against drugs, so I'm for the drug war. It doesn't work. If you're really against drugs, do something that works.
Yeah. Okay. Lyn, thank you so much for your time, and I'm so sorry that, you know, I don't wish what's happened with you and your family to anybody, you know. Regardless of what Ross has done, I don't wish that on anyone, especially not on a mother, a loving mother, it seems to me. So I hope you continue to fight the good fight, and people listening that want to help you, to enable you in freeing Ross, well, where can they go to learn more information? Where can they go to sign the petition?
Yeah, thank you. Well, freeross.org is our hub, and the petition, there's a big banner of the petition there, or you can just go directly to freeross.org/petition. And please, you know, you don't have to be for Ross or Silk Road to sign it if you're against this kind of overreach, government overreach of a sentence. There's so many people being excessively sentenced in this country that serves no purpose, except it makes money. You know, it costs the taxpayer and makes a ton of money for the mass incarceration system. But, so please sign. It's a show of support that we can hopefully present to the president and say, look, this is important. This many people, we're hoping 500,000, believe that you should pay attention to this. Please consider commuting this sentence.
Thank you for your message. Thank you so much for your time, Lyn.